Any other questions on this subject, or is everything clear?
I don't know if I understand good, but why why do you decide if in our chapter if we have a permanent channel? Why do you decide for this? If I have understand what you say.
Every national chapter can request a permanent channel if they're active within the movement.
Pardon?
I said every national chapter can request a permanent channel if they're active within the movement.
Why do we have to request something? We are the movement, so why do we have to request?
I will answer that one. This is Peter. Basically, the issue is structure. If people have meetings every week for their chapter, why not give them a room that's always there? The best way to think about TeamSpeak is a big corridor with a bunch of doors surrounding it. Each door can be open or it can be locked, but each door is designated for a particular purpose, hence the room. So this is the global chapter room. It's a permanent channel, just like any other chapter that's represented should have a permanent channel as well. It's your option if you want to lock it or not. You do whatever you want with it when you line up the coordinator of your chapter to the channel itself, which is why this idea is being pushed forward. Ideally in TeamSpeak, every chapter, at least on the higher tiers, would have its own permanent channel and access to it, usually moderated by the coordinator that works with your chapter. It's really just paralleling the chapter concept, but in a TeamSpeak room form. It's very simple, and there's actually very little that I could find any objection to. We're trying to create general uniformity and ease, and also create more safety, considering how much noise and trolling we had on the prior server, which invariably ended up being completely hacked, which was very unfortunate. So to summarize that, anyone that's in the movement that works with a chapter can contact their chapter coordinator and gain access to their chapter room here on TeamSpeak. It's very simple.
Sorry, could I say something about that, please? I have sort of lurked in the past, but that would be all very good and would work well if the chapter was active and the person who had the keys to the door was actually contactable. But I think it's actually a barrier to getting people talking if it's auto-locked and it's assumed to be locked. I haven't been able to make any sort of contact with anyone. You know, I'm just arriving here to a locked room and I think it puts people off.
Well, this isn't actually a community environment, though. The TeamSpeak concept was never put forward as a forum or a random place for anyone to come in and do whatever they want in conversation. There are certain allocations for it. For example, if you look up top, there's a room called public. And you can also make your own temporary channels, my friend. Anybody on this server that can come in here can make a temporary channel. Anybody. So that's all, that freedom is there for you. So if you come in and for some reason your chapter is not active, but you know you want to create a meeting for yourself and you haven't gotten in touch with the coordinator, simply create a temporary channel with the name of, I don't know, Ireland, and there you go. The permanent channels are there to serve the structural purpose of showing the movement's chapters. Everything else, as far as the freedom to do this and that, still exists, but at least there's the permanent channels for those that have consistent meetings, and at least they have the option, if they need it, to lock that room if they're being harassed by others, which I'm sorry to say is an ongoing problem. It's going to keep doing that. People are going to keep coming here and bothering others. But the difference now is that with this concept, the coordinator of the locked room, of the permanent channel, in fact, doesn't have to be locked, is responsible for the moderation of their chapter's channel. And that's an important feature. This limits the waste of time that myself and Gilbert and Miguel and many others have banged our head against this server trying to keep sanity with it. This puts the responsibility on the chapter coordinator, which really isn't a big deal. There can be numerous coordinators, numerous channel admins. You simply appoint them, a key is sent. And if you guys have any organization with what you're doing, it should not be a burden. It shouldn't be a burden at all. It's very simple.
Sorry, it's just okay, I'll have to agree to disagree. It's just that I don't think that I think it's hard getting things off the ground, and that people are not very organized on the level that you're talking about. If they were organized on that level, then I think it would work. But that's just my opinion, and I'm not push it any further.
And
I actually agree. Hold on one moment. I actually agree with that. And my hope here with this is it does further organization, badly needed general organization and communication within the movement as a whole. The mirroring of these channels, mirroring chapters, creates a unification that's very, very important for the chapter to maintain contact with each other. But beyond that, you still have the option to make temporary channels anytime you want, or go up to the public room and discuss things with people there. So there's two levels to this. And I'm not sure how you could disagree with that option. Everything that you think about before is actually still there. We're just trying to give an extra security attribute for the chapter meetings so they don't get harassed. I'll give you an example. Jen Wilding, the United States coordinator, has been subject to ongoing, constant trolling for months and months, so much so that she left the prior TeamSpeak and she had to purchase her own to continue her meetings. I'm not going to let that happen again. This is why the option for the permanent channels and the locks are there. It is up to the discretion of the moderator, which is the admin of that channel, which should be the coordinator of that channel, to keep sanity in their room and decide whether they want to lock it or not, who stays and who goes, etc. To be perfectly honest, I would say that everything should be locked, and all people would do when they want to have a meeting is they send out an email to everybody. The data is there with the password. They change the password periodically. Everyone comes in. It's very, very clean and organized. Just like if you rented a hotel and you had a meeting room, the door is there. You go into the room. The meeting is full with the people you've invited. The door is closed after the fact. This is the way I think about this. And I can't see any dichotomy with what you're expressing, except for the fact that this option is there, which should not be a bad thing.
Well, it's not a bad thing as long as the lock is not a carrier for secrecy. I'm sorry for my English, but as long as I can enter any global meeting, it's okay. And but if at some point any global meeting or anything that in somehow touch something about the movement as a whole, I think wouldn't be a good thing to have that level of
I'm sorry to say that as I just expressed with people that have undergone constant harassment on this server or the prior server, that isn't an option. People are going to need to lock their channels at certain times. I'm sorry, this is the world we live in. This is the chaos that exists at this point in time. It's not a question of secrecy. It's a question of basic security and sanity and allowing people to do what they want to in their channels in a diligent way without being bothered by lots of other people that have nothing better to do than come into their channel and harass them. If you would like to enter another channel that somebody else is hosting, another chapter, all you have to do is right-click their name and instant message them and say, hello, I'm from the Argentinian chapter. I would like to listen in on your Israeli chapter, if you don't mind. And they would decide whether they want you to come in or not. This is unfortunate reality, and if we keep everything open, it's going to be an enormous waste of time for people like myself and Gilbert and many others that have to constantly deal with the moderation as a whole. So this shouldn't be an issue. If there's a philosophical problem with you guys on this, I'm sorry, but this is the balance that has to be, after 4 years of dealing with this is the balance that has to be put in place, giving the option to the coordinators. Just like you have a website and you don't give everyone admin access to it. You don't publish the FTP information on the front of the website so people can't go into your website and change everything on your website at will. This is the type of thing that we have to do, unfortunately, and people have the option to do it on one side and they don't have to do it on the other side. So I can't see the logic against this other than the gesture, and I'm sorry that it's that way. I don't want it to be that way. It'd be great to have a world where everything is open and people are basically balanced and they're willing to let people rest and do their work. But no, we have a huge anti-zeitgeist movement campaign that continues out there across the world, and these types of safeguards are unfortunately necessary.
Okay, seems logic, but the only thing I'm afraid of is that it could lead to some kind of secrecy, and well, if it's just my imagination. Well,
see, what's an example of something secret that you could come up with that you think a channel coordinator would be discussing with their chapter? I mean, I'd like to know what exactly you think would emerge as secrecy. What is it that could possibly happen in secret that could undermine everything that we do?
No. I mean, in the global scope, not in national scope. I'm okay with every chapter channel to have a password, but as long as the global channel doesn't have password, I'm okay with that.
Well, that's at the discretion of Gilbert and Miguel, who are running the channel. And as you can tell right now, I don't believe this channel is currently locked. So they're obviously not locking it. This is, again, up to the discretion of the coordinator and the admin. You know, I want to say this broadly. I deal with a lot of general criticism regarding simple structural things that have a very simple logic to them. I would like everyone to consider focusing on things that are not internal when it comes to the Zeitgeist movement, because I think hours are spent. In fact, I'm pretty much need to stop talking now because I have to leave. And I'm a little amazed that all we've talked about in this meeting is channel passwords, as though it's some type of barrier to something. There's so many important educational things and projects, the Zeitgeist Media Festival that I wanted to talk about, that I can't now because I have to leave. But we spend all of this time bashing our brains in, disagreeing with each other about stupid shit. And if this is the way it's going to be, then I'm not going to even come to these meetings anymore. I don't see why anyone would. And this is another issue. This is another issue that just goes to show we need to stop bickering with each other and focus on what we're doing. If you think that myself or anyone that's advocating the lock on this channel or the channels in general is doing it out of some power move or anything like that, that's really wrong. That's extremely wrong. That is not what we're doing. We're trying to further ease the stress that is unfortunately so paired in with what we're doing across the board here. So I'd like to move on and talk briefly about the Media Festival, if I could. If you want to come back to this debate, then you can do so with Gil and Miguel. Whatever you guys decide, fine, we'll do it. But mark my words, if there isn't some type of general security happening here, you're going to be overrun with people that, out of their own sport, just for fun, will come and harass you.